Okay, everybody, welcome back to your favorite returning program. Rich and I hinted at bringing this back last night. I know I talked to the guys last Thursday on Office Hours about potentially bringing back a show, and here we are. Ladies' Night is officially back. So I know there's going to be people out there that love it. I know there's going to be people out there that hate it. We don't care. It's something we enjoy doing, and we're going to have some good conversation. So you guys notice Rich is not on the panel tonight. He had some other things he had to attend to. He might not be on every show, so I will largely be on most shows, and then I'll have my buddy Spencer here. He's kind of like a newer co-host. So, Spencer is a member of the 10%, very good dude, very trustworthy. He's now working on getting together some of the talent and some of the guests for these shows. So hats off to Spencer and tip of the cap to my man for being able to do that for us tonight. So ladies, we talked a little bit behind the scenes before the show. So I'll go around the horn and we'll have to do some introductions. And the couple of questions we'll ask is just obviously state your name, your age, where you're from. You don't have to say exactly where, state is fine, your current relationship status, and then, why you wanted to come on the show tonight. Camila, let's start with you.
All right. Well, my name is Camila. I'm 22. I'm a Cuban American from Tampa, Florida, and I'm a full-time student and I work as well. And I wanted to come on the show because I love podcasts. I love topics like male and female dynamic. And I feel like having a 7-year relationship, I have some good things that I can contribute to the podcast.
Yeah, so we did cover that 7-year relationship, and you said you're 22, so high school sweethearts, basically.
Yes.
And you said before the show,
it was her first relationship as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said you're hoping it's forever, right?
Yeah.
This is the one.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Very good. Maria, how about you?
Hi, I am Maria from Venezuela. I currently live in the United States, and I came into the show because my friend Spencer, that I met in some fashion show before, invited me to be part, and I has been doing so many things lately, like acting and dancing, and why not now podcast and talking to people that we share like good taste.
And how old are you?
I'm 27.
And you mentioned fashion. You're in fashion, right? Personal stylist, you said before the show?
Yes, I work in fashion for different designers from all around the world, and I like a lot all this fashion and show world.
Very good. And relationship status?
I am single now, how my friend Jessica say, my decision now.
All right. That's come up a couple of times. Single by choice, because I choose to be.
By choice.
All right. We'll come back to that, what exactly that means. Jessica, on to you.
Hi guys, I'm Jessica. I'm 20 years old. I currently live in the state of Georgia, but I'm originally from New York, and my family's from out of the country as well. I am very big on fashion. I love it with all my heart. That's actually my major, surface and textile design. At my school, I go to a university part-time, and I also work part-time as well. And I am single by choice.
Okay. And why did you want to come on the show tonight?
Oh, that's right. Honestly, it seemed like an amazing opportunity to be able to come on and talking about dating and relationships, because although I am currently single, I've had my fair share of, talking stages, but honestly, I'm starting to not really do those anymore. I'm either kind of, you show interest or you don't. Let's not make this prolong, that type of thing. So I like talking about all this stuff.
Okay. Sade, on to you.
Hi there. My name's Sade. I'm 24. I'm from Michigan originally. I live in Indiana now. I work in the HVAC field, and I'm a full-time mom.
Relationship status?
I guess you could say single by choice as well.
All right. So does somebody want to volunteer and tell me what single by choice means? What exactly that means? Single by choice, right? So, that assumes that some people out there don't have a choice. Or what exactly does single by choice mean? You're choosing to be single. You're choosing not to go for relationships. What does that kind of mean? Anybody can start.
For me, it's about quality over quantity. So it doesn't matter who's asking me out or how many like how many guys choose to ask me out. It's about if we have, I'm not even saying that we have to have the same opinions, but just the same beliefs or similar beliefs, a similar state of mindset and everything. And just making sure that you're just choosing good for yourself and having those standards up, keeping those standards up, not lowering your standards just because you're bored or lonely, that type of thing.
What are some of those beliefs and standards? Like what does a guy have to have belief and value wise to, get a shot with you essentially? And how do you kind of go about that? If, are you going on dates at least? Are you kind of not dating at all? Like what's kind of this single, like, when you're essentially, what does that look like?
So for me, I definitely make sure to go out on dates. My last date was, let's see, back in July, actually. So that was
So you're
actually
not
a long
going on
time.
dates.
I'm
That's a
not going
long
on
time.
dates right now, but it's only been a few months around there. But
Okay.
we were friends for a very long time first and everything, but I just didn't feel like we meshed well with the whole dating thing, and he completely understood that as well. But overall, I would definitely say I typically look for guys that are Christians. I'm Catholic myself and everything, but that's not like the end all be all for me. I'm not going to run a guy off if he's not of that, because it's like I know that not every Christian guy, acts Christian and everything. So I'm like, as long as the guy has a good head on his shoulders and treats me well and respects my family and everything, then that's perfectly fine with me. So it's just a series of things that go into that.
Are you still friends with that guy, or did you guys end
Absolutely.
the friendship? Oh,
No,
really?
we're still friends.
Who made the decision not to pursue a relationship? Was that you?
So I did, but I was very communicative about it. I did not, ghost him. I didn't block him or anything, because he goes to college in a different part of Georgia. So I just made sure to kind of be like, hey, this is nothing personal. I'll say this has nothing to do with, the distance and everything. This is just how I feel. These are my thoughts and everything. And he was completely fine with it. He was very understanding with the whole thing based on the reasons.
So what was it about him that made it not work out?
So he actually, which I was like, what the heck? So he didn't tell his parents for a while. Like, his parents didn't like me based on stuff from high school, and I let go of anything from high school. So anybody that I may not have liked, just even friend wise, if I didn't like somebody back in high school, I'm not going to hold any mistakes against people. So I tend to forget about things and let go regardless, because that's high school stuff. It's immature and I don't play those games anymore. Well, not that I did. I just mean I don't play those immature games and everything. But so he was telling me, he's like, oh yeah, my parents don't know about us. Like, I didn't tell them. They still don't like you from that time in high school. And I actually had a boyfriend for 3 years as well, but I don't count it for me just because it was from middle school to high school. So I feel like it was children's stuff anyways for me, basically.
Okay.
But
I want to come back to you on a couple of these
yeah.
things, but I'm curious, like, what happened in high school?
Oh no, so basically in high school, so I was dating this one guy and everything, and his friends didn't respect him and started to ask me out in the relationship, which caused like problems and like a whole bunch of things. But so him and we ended up being able to just become friends afterwards. But I broke up with him at the time just because his friends got involved way too much. And so it was basically right after I decided to end things with him that my current friend decided to ask me out, but I wasn't ready to. And he told his parents, oh, like, she said she wanted to date me, and now she didn't, accept, going out with me and stuff like that. And that's when his parents all of a sudden didn't like me because they thought I led him on. Just high
I'm
school.
really curious.
Sheesh.
How did he react to his friends asking you out?
Oh, that was fun. So basically, he chose to actually ignore it, even with seeing like some text messages and everything, because he wasn't ready to, one of them was actually his best friend and everything. And he chose to completely ignore the whole situation because he didn't want to deal with it and everything. And I was like, okay, if you want to be a complete wuss about it, that's totally cool. You fumbled badly, just to let you know. So I let him know. I was like, well, honey, I was like, that's a you loss, not a me loss. So sorry. But it was very interesting because it came up a little bit later. It came up a few years later and everything. And then he's like, oh, like, he's like, it just piled on. I wasn't ready to deal with it right now. Like, I thought if I ignored it, it would have just gone away. I'm like, well, because it came up somehow by one of his other friends.
Interesting. Okay. Maria, you mentioned communication, or this is kind of this is open to anybody. I mean, we kind of, and Jessica, you sort of mentioned this before we hopped on, that things have not worked out in the past because men generally don't know how to communicate. So, and most of the ladies sort of nodded in agreement. Does anybody care to, for those that agree with that, can you kind of explain what you mean and expand on that a little bit when we say men don't know how to communicate and what you mean by that?
I think it's not that they don't know how to communicate, just that we go more by feelings and emotions, and we kind of just drop everything at the moment, and you guys are more, yeah, it's different. I think it's something about um hormones and all that, but it's true. I think if you are mature enough, you know how to communicate what you're feeling, what makes you mad at the moment, or whatever makes you happy. And us as a woman, I think we should to understand that probably we will be more communicative. Yes, sorry about my English.
No, it's okay. Like, what's an example where you were dating somebody or there's a guy where he struggled with communication, or you saw it as a breakdown in communication?
Yeah, sometimes also they when we are young, I think we don't have very clear what we want more than having fun and making our dreams come true. We are very selfish, and we kind of don't think of what the other person who wanted, or so I think with time we start to learn how to communicate better and better. And if the person that is in your life at this time doesn't communicate good and you're not happy with that, just keep going. Maybe you will find it the right one later to communicate better.
And Maria, you also mentioned single by choice. Are you dating at all, or what? Why haven't you found
I
the
have
guy that you want
been
to
meeting
date?
people, but I guess that I don't feel I don't feel in love with nobody yet, like I've been before at some point of my life. I'm sorry, my dog is like a cat. Uh,
What
yes,
kind of guy do
I
you
feel.
typically go for?
Excuse me.
Older? What kind of guy do you typically go for? Like, what's
No,
your what's your kind of guy?
I don't have like a, like a idea. I just go by how I feel. If I feel good energies, and if I feel that that I can trust in them, if I know that there are people that are coming from good a good family, or
Well, there's a
that
lot
they are
of
rebellious.
there are a lot of
in their
short,
life.
broke, fat guys out there that come from good families that you can trust. Does that make them good dating options?
No, not really.
Okay.
Just
All right. Fair enough.
I say it as a like values, that I can trust that person because I know that he's not around telling the same thing to all the girls that he met, or that I can, if I need something, not necessarily the money wise, and not just like, the simple details as, hey, how are you feeling, or how was the job today, these things. Not everybody feel comfortable putting in the other person's shoe. So I like that people that gets, I don't know, involved with you in all type of stage of life, not only like, I don't know if you understand.
All right, we'll come back to that.
Somebody that goes with you in all the road, because it's not always have fun and happiness. Sometimes it's hard. It's not going too far to the.
All right. I kind of see where you're going with it. I want to go to Camila, since you're the lone taken woman here in the relationship. So 7 years since you were, I guess, 15 at this point, high school sweethearts,
Yeah.
into college sweethearts now. Um, you know, that's rare to see and hear these days. You know, a lot of women in their 20s, they want to go out and party, they want to go have fun, they want to, you know, focus on their career and that next step. You know, what is it about? And you said you hope this is forever. Like, what is it about this guy? What is it about this relationship that's kept you guys together for so long? And what do you see that makes it, you know, worth the long haul?
So the start of our relationship was kind of unexpected because during the time, like in high school, like I had already a guy I had a crush on, and I didn't really even like pay attention to this guy. Like really, I just kind of sat with him in art class, and we sat in a group, and then one day, like no, the group wasn't there, and it was just me and him, and he started telling me this like story about how passionate he is about dirt bikes and how his family went dirt bike riding. And even though like I wouldn't have like having him as like one of my crushes, like first sight, like I had a crush on a guy that I had never even talked to before, like at that time. But like the way he like was so passionate about like dirt bikes, even though I never even knew what a dirt bike was, that just kind of like endeared him to me. And like I kind of developed a crush after that. Um, and then, you know, he found out by mistake because I told his friend and we ended up like dating. I come from like a Hispanic family, so he kind of did have to ask my dad. He had to meet my dad before we went on our first date. But the main thing about it, I feel like it's because me and him are just very equally matched, when it comes to like smarts. And by the way, like not to get political, but when I started dating him, I was like extremely far left, and he was very much far right too. So especially because I was like very young and like I just like would go with what the media would tell you. I lived in Miami for some time, and we actually clashed a lot, like heavy during the first like I would say like 2 years of our relationship because we just were so vastly different ideologically. But I feel like what really helped us is that like we just knew that we really liked each other, where like we really loved each other, and we knew that we were good people, right? So all of these like stereotypes that we had about each other didn't really hold up because how am I gonna think like for example how am I gonna think he's racist if like I know he's not, right? So we just like ended up having really good communication, and we ended up centering each other out pretty good actually. Um, but I feel like we just like we always from the start of the relationship outlined like I'm not gonna cheat on you, and he's like me either. Like we don't want to do that, like we don't want to go through that experience. So we've never had any sort of issues with like trust or any sort of rub-offs with like worrying like oh where's he going. Like I have never thought about that. I feel like we just really established that at first, like that was just like one of the guidelines. We also established that like we need to talk through things. In regards to the communication thing, I think that one of the main ways that men have a hard time communicating, because I think women also have their hard time communicating, the main way men do it is that men, firstly, they don't really understand the subtleties that women go through with emotion, and they might not notice many things that we do notice, and it might bother us. And if they do have something that we did that maybe it bothers them, they're more willing to try and look past it and get over it. Like they will hold and kind of bottle up the feelings until one day you guys have like one more argument about the same thing he's bothered by, and then he'll explode, and then it'll seem like it came out of nowhere, when in reality it's just been building up. So I feel like when it comes to men, like I have like done my like what I can to like try and consider that like that's just how kind of he is, right? Like he just is the kind of person that just bottles things up, and like the best thing I can do is just like whenever I see that he's kind of off, I'll be like, "Hey, like is something going on? Like am I doing something that you don't like? Like let me know." It's important to know
Yes,
these things. If you don't
it's
know,
super
then you never
interesting.
know.
Yeah, super interesting you bring that up. I mean, we say this all the time on this channel, on the show. You know, women communicate more covertly, and men communicate overtly. It's kind of the opposite. So, women generally want a guy that just gets it. You know, she goes by her emotion, and a lot of the times, I tell guys, it's like when you got a woman that blows up on you, or needs to sit down and point out and discuss with you all the ways that what you're doing is bothering her. It's been bothering her for a very long time, weeks, maybe months, because they're like, women are not confrontational creatures. You drop hints and you're like, why the hell isn't he getting it? How many drawers do I have to slam, or how many doors do I have to close in a huff before he wakes up and realizes that I'm pissed off at him? And most guys are just like, like, I don't know, this is the first time I've heard about this. I can't believe that she's flying off the handle like this. So that's really interesting. Who adopted? So did you adopt more of his views? Did he adopt more of? You said you kind of met in the middle, but generally
Well,
what we see when women are really in love with a guy, they tend to adopt his hobbies, his mannerisms, his cultural and political views. Was that kind of what happened with you all?
yeah, I kind of lied saying that we met in the center. I kind of really did go his way. But
That's
I
okay.
mean,
There you go.
I really fought him tooth and nail about it. Like I was not backing down, and he was just kind of like the stepping stone for it. What really did it for me is like when he would like challenge me on my belief, and then I would say like, no, like there's proof, and then he said like, okay, well, like look it up and show me this proof. And then when I'd try to prove him like wrong, I would end up proving myself wrong. And that's kind of like what led to me being like, you know what, like he kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I kind of like,
It-
I'm the one that doesn't make sense.
So it sounds like you look to him to be, the leader in the relationship, and you trust in him to make good decisions for the both of you and kind of move things forward. I mean, is that kind of the dynamic, or how does it work between the two of you?
I mean, I feel like I mean, we definitely do trust each other, and I really do encourage him to like be like more of like the leader. Like that's always something that like I want to do, simply because like I feel like I want to have a family, right? And like I want to like take care of my kids in the future, and like him being the leader makes more sense to me. But sorry, repeat the question again. I kind of ran off
No,
track.
just curious, the dynamic between the two of you. A lot of people out there are like, oh, well, it's 50-50. We make every decision together. But, as the relationships grow
Well,
and mature, the healthiest relationships we see, and the way it's worked since the beginning of time is, the man leads the relationship. Women want to look up to their guy. They want to look up to a giant. They don't want to be on the same level as their guy. They want to look up to him and be like, that guy's the shit. Is that kind of how it goes
yeah.
with you all, or?
Well, yeah, in a way, yes, because something that like really helps us out is like considering each other.
Hmm.
Like if for example, like let's say that like his friends want to go out or something, and we talked about maybe hanging out because it had been a long time or something. Like if it's truly a unique opportunity, he'll ask me like, hey, like would you be okay if I went out with them instead? And then like, I'd give him my opinion. And then like he would take an action based on like what I feel, right? Because like he wouldn't want to take an action that's just gonna like make me mad, and then like have to deal with me being mad. But in terms of dynamic, we just like try to consider what we have like in mind as much as possible. I feel like issues start to arise when we start making decisions without really thinking how like the other person's gonna react. Like if all of a sudden like an opportunity springs up for me to like, I don't know, go on a scholarship to Greece, and like I don't really tell him about it, and I tell him like a week before, he's gonna be like, what the hell? Like I had planned to actually go on a trip with you during that time, and it was a surprise or something.
Does he ever tell you no?
Yeah. He's
How do you feel
actually
about that?
very direct. Well, we definitely argue. I feel like every healthy relationship should argue at some point. If you don't argue, something's wrong. But I always tell him like I never want to leave an argument without meeting in some sort of middle ground. Like even if like maybe I'm not 100% like okay with like the no or something, like at least I will understand why he says no. And
Okay.
like I will never also do anything that like he doesn't like. For example, like if I want to post which I don't, but if I wanted to post a picture of myself in like a bikini or something, and he tells me like, "Hey, I don't feel comfortable with that." Like I wouldn't just like say, screw you and just go off and post it, because like I would hurt his feelings, right? So I would try to like consider, like that's for example, like if I do want to post a picture with me at the beach, I'll have him in the picture or something.
Hmm.
That way we
Yeah.
can like
You don't see that
like
very often. You see a lot of women posting themselves even in relationships and things like that. So I mean, Spencer knows my bad. I was that guy. I was the Instagram boyfriend. I took pictures of the girl that I was dating and she posted them. Like, it was wild. I want to get to Sade. Sade, you've been really patient. I want to get to you, but I want to ask Camila one more question
You're
before we
fine.
move on. So you mentioned, again, because I want to come back to this kind of leader dynamic where you mentioned like, hey, I'm not going to do anything without, talking to him, or I don't want him to make a decision without taking me into account. But let's say there's a situation where, you two are just on complete opposite ends of agreement. There's no go forward. It's either turn left or turn right. You can't go back. You have to go left or go right. He says we need to go left. You say, I really think we should go right. Who ultimately is going to make the decision, right? There's no compromise here, right? It's going to be either he gets his way or you get your way. Who ultimately is going to, when push comes to shove and there's no compromise to be had, which way are you going to go?
Well, it would depend on the scale of the situation.
Let's say it's a big decision. Let's say it's
big decision.
Let's
like
say
moving
it's
somewhere.
Let's say it's moving. It's whether you're going to put your kids in public or private school, like where
I
there's
would
no
go with
middle
his
ground,
choice.
things like that.
I would go with his choice simply because, I mean, I feel like because I know that he's
this
a
is gonna
good
come up.
person.
If you're
Yeah,
going to be
I
together
know.
forever, this is going
I
to
mean,
happen.
it's come up a couple times in some ways, but like, for example, there was the time when like I had to go to USF. I go to USF, and I kind of I didn't think at that time in my naive mind that I could technically drive an hour to and from school every day. So I was thinking like I have to move out. But at the time, he didn't really have the means to do that, and I kind of like laid out an ultimatum in a way, which I backed up on because I didn't consider that to be like more important than the relationship. Because like I value the relationship a lot. And if I trust him on like a big decision like that, it would be mainly because I firstly like am in love with him. So I know he's good. Like I wouldn't be in love with him if he was like someone that made bad decisions or was like stupid or not considerate or something. So if he does end up having to make a decision that I disagree with, I would at least have the comfort in my mind of knowing that like he loves me and like he's doing it not because he's bad or wants what's bad for me, but because he wants what's best for the both of us.
Yeah. He's the captain of the ship as long as he steers you to the shore, not onto the rocks, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. There you go. I mean, the advice to you is keep that energy. Guys want to be the leader. They want to have the support of their women. The last thing guys want is arguments and guys want to be trusted. They want to be put in the position of a leader. And, if a guy's earned that and continues to earn it, then keep giving it to him. So kudos to you. We'll come back. I'm sure Spencer's got some stuff too. I want to make sure we get around the horn here. Sade, you mentioned single and you're, oh yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was going to add on. So for me, it's like the opposite. It's like,
ooh, okay,
I'm the one who's always making all the decisions. Like, but that comes with being a parent. It's something I feel like sometimes I can't let off my shoulders. It's something I can't control. And so if my partner or my, the person I'm dating doesn't have that exact same energy or more, it's like, I want nothing to do with the person. And it's like, I kind of want to lessen that down a little bit, put my guard down a little bit, but it's really hard as a parent. Like, you want what's best for your child. And if they're not matching that, it's like, so I don't know. I haven't experienced that yet where the man is leading and he's taking control and I can let my shoulders down a little bit and let him lead the way. It's always been like everything's on my shoulders,
Is that by choice, or do you think that you are kind of self-fulfilling that prophecy a little bit? Do you think you're kind of, putting obstacles in your own way?
I guess it could be that way. Sometimes as a mom, I try to make it seem like it should be only me doing it, even though, it could be a partnership. So that's something I think, single mothers struggle with too. It's like the co-independence, it's like, it's stuff we're supposed to do that's pretty normal, but we like make it seem like it's this huge thing and we're so strong and you know what I mean? Like, I don't need your help kind of thing. So it could be that too.
Do you co-parent at all, or do you have your child full-time?
I co-parent. So her dad has on the weekends and then I have her full-time during the week.
Okay. You all get along rather
great.
well?
Yeah. It didn't
why
start that
didn't
way.
it work out?
We get along great. So everything works pretty great.
Is she toddler age?
Yeah, she's 4, she'll be 5. So she's in preschool.
Okay.
She'll be in kindergarten. She's there. So I'm in HVAC, so I work like 10-hour shifts every day. She's in school for 10 hours year round. So it's a lot that comes with it. So dating, it's like when she said that's by choice, it's just I don't feel like right now I have time for a relationship, or I don't have enough, like effort that I can put into someone else right now. Because with men, like she was saying, with communicating as well, it's like it's almost like you have to. It might not be for every man or all men in general, but it just feels like you always have to kind of like lead them like a puppy a little bit, you can communicate. This is how you do it. You could do this better. You could do that better. You know what I mean? So it's like my kid takes up all of my energy, and there's any more left. It's just not a lot,
Do you want to eventually be married? Like, do you want in the long run?
I do, but I guess another thing is like, past traumahood too, coming from like my parents getting divorced and just seeing how bad it all went. And in my family, there's only one probably like successful marriage, successful relationship. Everyone else is like single, struggling, abusive, like alcoholics, drugs, you name it. So, I mean, that's another thing too. It's pretty hard.
Well, I mean, you got pregnant pretty young. If she's 4 going on 5, I mean, you were 19 or 20. I mean, what happened? Why didn't it work out with your kid's father? What happened there?
So I wouldn't say like it was anything bad. We just grew apart. I wanted different things in my life. Of course I could have had the white picket fence and everything and be the stay-at-home mom, but it just wasn't what I envisioned for myself. So we just had different mindsets and we just grew apart. That was all.
If that's not the vision, what's the vision?
It's kind of complicated for me because I'm still young, trying to find myself. I think he pretty much found who he was and what he wanted to do with his life, and I still haven't. I'm still out here trying to figure that out. I'm like, I want to go out and figure it out. I don't want to just sit here and be a mom and stay at home and just be a mom. I want to be more than just a mom. So we kind of grew apart with it and bashed heads. He's like, you could just be at home, be a mom, and do that. And I was like, I want to go out here and find myself. I still haven't got the chance. I lost that chance after high school. So.
Are you close with your dad at all? Like, was he much? You said your parents were divorced. Is he still around? Or
yeah. It was my childhood was pretty traumatic, so it's really complicated. I have a dad and a stepdad. They're both in 2 different states. My real dad, we kind of bump heads a lot, so we're not. I wouldn't say we're close. We bump heads like really bad. My stepdad, we kind of do. So I wouldn't say I don't have a good like man role model in my life either. With how men work, how they correlate, how can I communicate with this guy better? I don't really have that. It's like I'm on my own with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's probably pretty hard for you to look at a man and trust him to be masculine and be a leader because you don't have that example growing up.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did I hear you also do some streaming in your free time?
Yeah.
Like gaming, Twitch, or what exactly?
I haven't figured out Twitch. I find it kind of weird, or Discord, anything like that. It's a goofy app called Live Me, but I really enjoy talking with.
Is that like OnlyFans or?
No,
what
what
exactly?
Live Me? No, it's just.
I don't know.
It's just.
Look, I'm 30. I'm almost 33. I can't keep up with all the damn apps that you kids
You're
are on
fine.
these days.
It's literally just like what you're doing, like a podcast. It's literally just a bunch of people in a box, and we're all talking to each other all over the world. And
so there's no OnlyFans. So if I go on your Instagram and I click the link under your bio, there's not going to be an OnlyFans.
Go ahead. Go click on it. Let's go.
Do you want to go there? All right. We won't go there, but I'll trust you.
Anyways, the app, I basically got lonely with a lot of things because now after my grandma passed recently, I don't have my parents really in my life. I don't have a lot of friends after I had my kid. So the app, literally, I've met people all over the world, and it's like it's great to know you're not alone because they're alone. They're going through things too. We talk about it. We communicate about our lives. And I've met a lot of great people that are there for me on those apps. So that's what I do now. I stream and I work real hard and do HVAC, take care of my kid pretty much.
Highly male-dominated industry, I'm assuming.
It is. And I grew up
you do admin work? Or are you like out there fixing shit? Like you're doing legit hammer nails?
Technician. Working on it.
Gotcha.
So in training.
Gotcha.
But I've always been that way. I've always been into masculine sports. I was a sports girl. I've always been very competitive. So being in a man field doesn't scare me at all. It's something I actually want to do. So
would you ever date or consider, if you wanted this long term, like would you date a man that already had kids, or is that like a deal breaker for you?
No, I want more kids, so I would definitely take on that.
Like, what if you came into a relationship with kids already, as opposed to wanting to have more kids? Maybe he'd be open to having more kids with you, but maybe he came into a relationship, like say he already had a son or a daughter from like a
I
previous
recently just
relationship.
got out of a relationship with a guy that had kids,
Okay.
but I think the age gap has a lot to do with it as well, because his kid was 13, my kid's 4, and mine's a toddler.
Yeah,
We like to go ice skating and go play in the ball pit, and she wants to go watch a movie or go shopping. But his kid wasn't under control. Like, his kid was grown and they had their own issues. And I was like, at that point, I had to make a decision. Do I step up and become a stepmom for a child that's going on being grown? Like, there's not really much you can say to her anymore at 13, 14. Once you know what I mean? It's either that or boot camp kind of thing. And I was like, I don't really want to step in, right? I feel like it's too late for me to step in, or that's just not, that's not for me yet. You know what I mean? So I had to kind of break it off right there.
Spence, I've been doing a lot of talking. Do you have anything you want to ask? Do you have anything you want to chime in on before we continue on?
Yeah, I'm curious on that one. I heard you say sometimes when it comes to handling your own kid, you just say, like, let me handle it. You step in, you have to handle this situation, whatever's going on. How do you split that responsibility and authority over your kids and his kids?
I think we just had to pretty much try to make it even. Like, whatever we were doing, we pretty much just took turns. Like, if we're going to go take her shopping today, we can go. And then maybe the next day we'll go do Sky Zone or something. Kind of like, you kind of just have to even it out during the week. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. There was times where I was like, I'm going to go take Ava, to Smiley's. And the daughter was like, I'm not doing that. That sounds boring. I don't want to do that. I'm like, well, that's okay. We'll just go do this. And then another day we'll go hang out with you, kind of thing. So
I'm a little curious about the authority of things. So, like, when it comes down to setting rules with the kids, because you always have to set rules.
Yeah, and
kids,
like
right?
I said, that was hard. That was probably the hardest part. It's like, when can you step in? When can you not? When can you lay back and let them? That's their kid. And I feel like that just comes with time and being in a relationship with someone. Because I mean, after we were only together, like, we were talking, we've known each other for 2 years. We tried it last year. We tried it this year. But I just feel like in 5 months, that's just not enough time to start making decisions on their child yet. I mean, of course, you can have opinions and maybe ask or have suggestions, but at the end of the day, it's up to the parent to make that decision. Like, just like she has a dad, so he makes decisions, I make decisions, they make their own decisions. But I feel like over time, eventually you're able to make that authority. But in the beginning, I feel like it's kind of like a, hey, that's your child, you do what you got to do kind of thing. And how do you feel about it?
You said 5 months is probably too early. Do you think, just rough estimate, of course it takes time, nuance, but estimate.
For us, like I said, it's been 2 years of us. We tried last year. So it technically been about a year of us knowing each other's, kids and everything. I think it just depends on the people. Some people's relationships work great and they can move fast and make decisions because maybe the parents aren't there, or maybe they want that person to be there for them. Because my dad kind of suggested that, because when he raised me as a single dad as well. And then I had a stepmom that came in my life, and kind of immediately she started making decisions for him just because he simply didn't know what was best at the time, So it just really depends on where you're at with that person.
I want to go back to Jessica. And here's the thing too, like, I know we're kind of going in a rotation here. It's not meant to do that. I mean, anybody can chime in and say their opinion on any given topic that we're talking. I don't want it to have to be like 4 or 5 one-on-one conversations. So feel free to chime in on anything that you've heard so far. But Jessica, you mentioned like values and beliefs, and you mentioned, being a Christian, but that's not necessarily number one. Like, I want to pose this question to all the ladies. Like, what are the top 3 qualities that a guy has to have, for you to take him seriously and consider dating him? Like, just give me your top 3. Start with Jessica and go around.
So, like, my beliefs wise, or just generally speaking?
Just top 3. Just give me your top 3 things that absolutely has to have. He doesn't have these 3, it's like a deal breaker.
Respectful, because you'd be surprised at the amount of times that I have found people, and then they're just, the lack of disrespect is just completely too much. So just being respectful with me, my family, like what I like and everything, with my hobbies and things like that. Definitely communication, as we spoke about earlier. And then let's see, a third one. I guess just, I mean, being loyal, just like the basic stuff. Like I don't have like such high standards and everything. It's just the basic things and everything. That's why I said like quality over quantity as well before.
Okay. Marie, what about you?
I have the same request as Jessica. I mean, they have to be
Co-sign all those.
respectful. They have to be honest in all the ways, and
Okay.
they loyal. Yes, we some they will they I like people that likes to work for the what they want, you know, like no easy
Ambitious.
ways. Yes, ambitious.
Okay. Camila, we kind of talked about yours, but like, do you have like, what are your top 3 things that you like about your guy?
Yeah, I agree with what she said, like ambitious. Like I think that having passion for something, like if you're just a guy that's just like whatever, like just plays video games, not even in a passionate way, just like does nothing, goes on his 9 to 5, plays video games, goes home, sleeps, repeats. Like I feel like you need to have something in your life that like you're passionate about, right? Because that kind of drives you to like achieve. Um, you need to like be willing to like solve things. Like you have to be an open person, meaning like if you think a certain way and I think a different way, like you have to have that drive to want to see why I think this way, right? Like I feel like that's important on both ends too. I feel like these qualities are important on both sides too. um and finally, loyalty, um which I feel like loyalty though comes naturally with like a real bond. Like I feel like if you and the guy that you're trying to get with or something, like if you truly love each other, like you're gonna really like not run risks of cheating. You know, like I feel like if you really love each other, that becomes like not the risk of that lowers. But I would say like having that mentality to start with before love is also very important.
I'm
Like the
curious
whole
what
thing
you.
of sorry, like the whole thing of don't let your girlfriend stop you from finding your wife type of thing. Like if you just come into a relationship with that mentality, like you're never gonna be loyal to anybody
That's
because
gonna
as
work,
soon as
yeah.
someone else appears, you're just gonna be like, oh,
Yeah. Or like that you think that they can meet somebody better. Like, oh, I might need meet somebody better. So I just gonna be, you know, it's like you have to know that that's the best for you and that you want it to work. So you're gonna do your best to make it work.
I will
yeah,
say, going based off of everything. So in the religious aspect, so not me personally, but so we have Orthodox Jewish friends and everything where we're from. So I was born in New Jersey, but my parents are born and raised like from the city of New York and everything. But we actually have Orthodox Jewish friends and everything, and how they do things with like relationships and such. So basically, they have, which this is not something that I would want to do just for myself and everything. So they have the option to go on 10 dates with somebody, and their parents, they do setups and everything. And so, and I bring this up for a reason, bear with me. So my one of my friends, she's 21, and so she was able to get set up with the guy and everything. And it's not like they're forced into it. They have options of people who to choose from. You go on dates with them. If you guys don't mesh well, that's fine. Then you just move on to the next person. But both people know, like, who they're going to meet, and like, a little bit about the person first before they go into anything. So I will say they are not allowed to have friends of the opposite gender and everything. So when it comes to communication and trust and loyalty, I feel like they already have it set in stone and everything. But I feel like it's also a good example to abide by. Not that people can't have male friends and female friends, but I feel like with the communication aspect, with how things are nowadays with social media and just, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of things that just make people lazy, just generally speaking, guy or girl with communication. And there's a lot of things that come into play with it. But I just wanted to mention about them and everything because I think it's interesting how we all talk about these topics and everything, but then they already kind of have set standards for them where they don't have to worry about such things. Like they can't have male friends, female friends. They already have their dates set up and everything. And then after 10 dates, if they feel like they mesh well, then they basically get set up and they set up a marriage and everything.
Okay. I want to come back to the friends with thing, but I want to get Sade's top 3 before we do that.
like you guys said, ambitious, just because someone has to be going somewhere. You can't be in a straight line your whole life riding the train. You gotta want to get off the train eventually. And then just considerate of your feelings, your emotions, considerate of everything around you, but same thing, all of us want the same thing.
So what's interesting is there wasn't anything in here about certain height, having to be in good shape, being able to make money and bring home the bacon and take care of the household. Um, I find that really interesting because there's a lot of guys out there, most guys out there, I'd say, who are respectful, good communicators, willing to be honest with you, that will never cheat on you, not because they can, because they can't. They're loyal and they're ambitious, but they might be making $40,000. They might be 5'6". They might be overweight and have a beer belly. So, I mean,
But
those
I
are
can't.
some required. Those are things that men have by the millions. So, where's the disconnect here? Because it's really not hard to find a guy like that that's got all these things. But where's the disconnect?
I just was gonna say, I feel like we all kind of maybe all are thinking the same. Like we all want someone who's decent looking, makes decent amount of money, kind of thing, or no. So we just we didn't mention that.
But what does that mean?
We just didn't. I mean, it could be different for everyone. It could be, but I just feel like we all were on the same page and just didn't feel like that, or this world's so judgmental that
No, but if these are the number 1, 2, 3 most important things, that means if a guy is fat and short and bald and as long as he's not cheating on you and as long as he works really hard at his job at McDonald's, you'd be with him. That's what we're saying here, right?
There's number 4 and 5 though. You just were saying you want our top 3, but 4 and 5 could make or break like a date too.
Well, I also thought it was values.
4 and 5 a deal breaker.
Right.
Values are different from like standards.
Right.
Like I feel like the standard has to be decent. Like it has to be like equally matching what you look like. Like I feel like if you're someone that is like a 4 and then you're not willing to date like a 3, right? That's kind of like you're kind of dooming yourself, right? Like I know a lot of people.
Do you think, Camila? Do you think women are? Do you think women honestly rate themselves on a scale 1 to 10 with pure honesty? Do we want to go around the horn and have everybody rate themselves real quick? You don't want to do that? I
don't think women do, and I think women also reinforce the perspective that they have of themselves because women are more aware of social norms. They're more careful about like hurting people's feelings. Like you'll see under a picture of a girl that like, it might be rude to say, but she's fat and ugly. And then you'll have a bunch of girls at the bottom like, gorgeous queen, you're beautiful, slay. Like, I know, and they know that they don't really think that, but women just are nice. So then they kind of like just feed into each other with this. I will say though, a lot of men tend to always shoot way higher in for a woman than they naturally look, and I've seen that happen many, many times.
You think guys are overshooting the women they can get?
A lot of times I have seen so many guys complain that like, oh, this girl was leading me on. Like I had this guy in college. He was a weirdo. He would literally come into a classroom and burp out loud in front of everybody and then complain that like girls were playing him and nobody wanted to date him. And he like looks like a literal nerd. And I had to tell him like, I mean, you need to like go work out, stop thinking about women maybe for like a couple months, get yourself together, stop coming into classrooms where you're meeting a bunch of girls for the first time and just burping like a pig, like you're kind of like ruining your chances. And then like he also like would go like the only reason I even got to know this guy more closely is because he wanted to like date me. And I was like, dude, like, no. Like, and it's also like in my mind, I'm thinking like this guy, I would rate like a 4 on the scale of like looks. And like, he's like genuinely thinking he has a chance with me, but like, he wouldn't try to date this other girl that was his friend that was like basically on the same scale because she wasn't his type. And it's like, well, you're kind of dooming yourself here. You're shooting for an 8 when you're a 4. And then you're like complaining that the 8 left you for a 9.
See, for me,
Jessica, by the way, your video is off. I don't know if you are like
Is it?
switched onto a new tab or anything like that, but yeah, your video is black.
Wait, did
Are you using your
did it
phone?
do anything? Yeah, I am. Has it been off the whole time?
Just for the last like 10 minutes. I didn't want to say anything.
I thought it was just me because my thing's been breaking up.
No,
I'm
no,
like,
no.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
usually if
fine.
you're
so
on like
it's-
a different, if you have like another tab open or something like that, or I mean, if it is, it is. It is what it is. We'll keep going with it. But continue though. What were you saying?
So I'll try to actually fix that after I answer. But
Sure.
for me, I will never run a guy off based on like looks and everything because so personally, like I have, spoken to guys, in that way where maybe they're not, fit or something, or like how she mentioned about nerdy looking and everything. So I tend to go for the nerdy guys just because the guys that I have met that are nerdy, I like their mindset and everything. A lot of them will go for like those engineering jobs, and I'm not all about the money and everything, even though that is like financially very wealthy. But for me, I just like the way that they think and everything. I like how they function with their daily lives and everything. I've met a lot of guys. So on campus, I'm part of some Christian organizations, and there's a lot of guys that are either for mechanical engineering or civil engineering. And so when they talk about like, what they do in their lives and everything with it, all of that, it just kind of amazes me how much they can accomplish, like, how much their brains can, be capable of, if that makes sense. But overall, though, I won't run a guy off like if I think he's not like the hottest looking guy. Like I'm not looking for a model. I'm not looking for a guy that has like abs and everything. That's fine too, but I'm not over here going to be picky and choosy. I figure if he has a good head on his shoulders, if he's a good guy overall, like if he has some good qualities and everything, that's fine with me. Like if he's like, a little, on the chunkier side or just like on the bigger side in general, that's fine. Like if he doesn't, if he has pimples or something, that's fine. As long as the
What
guy
if he's fat?
that's fine. Like, see, I prefer someone who's, fit and everything just because that tells me that they are healthy for themselves and such. But I mean, if they're like a little on the bigger side, like, I'm not saying like, obese and everything, because I want somebody who will take care of themselves, unless it's like a medical thing, because I know that does exist too. But I mean, I feel like I can't judge someone based on appearance wise if they honestly are a great person.
Jessica, who's your celebrity male crush?
So not his just the character because he's done some bad stuff in person in real life, but I love Chuck Bass from Gossip Girl. I am obsessed with his character just because
Spencer, who was that?
I don't know.
Chuck Bass?
It's from Gossip Girl. Gossip Girl.
Chuck E. Cheese? Who's the actor that plays him though?
Ed Westwick.
Okay.
Ed Westwick. Yeah, he recently just got married.
He's definitely not a
Just gonna
fat
look
guy.
at that really quick. Yeah, let me get a look at this guy real quick. Chiseled
See, I feel like
jaw, in good
This is an
shape,
example of like,
tall, masculine. Here's what I'm trying to get at. Ladies, it's okay to want an attractive guy. It's okay to want a hot dude that you want to jump the bones of. It's okay to want a guy that's tall and that's muscular and strong and masculine, because that's how women are naturally hardwired. There's a reason why women go after guys like that, because broad shoulders in a slim waist, a V taper, and strength and muscles indicate being able to protect you from predators. This is all our biological hardwirings and our monkey brains. Like we do these shows a lot. We took a big break, but we've done these shows a lot where it's like often what we run into is that stated preferences, what women generally say they want, sometimes doesn't add up, or a lot of times directly conflicts with what they actually go after, right? A lot of women will just say, I just want a really, really nice guy. It's like, well, there's a lot of really nice guys out there that'd be nice to you, but they may not make that much money, or they might not be, in shape, or they might be short, or maybe they're ambitious, but I mean, ambitious is certainly a relative term. But I think that's where a lot of the frustration, where a lot of guys, when I tell guys not to listen to female dating coaches, that's just kind of why, because it's like, or when I tell guys generally don't listen to women, what they say they want, watch what they do and watch who they go after, it's because these are often conflicting. And here's the thing that I want to say to as a caveat, it's not your fault. It's really fine. It's okay. Because what women generally do is actually Sade kind of pointed it out, that when you're thinking of a guy who's respectful, ambitious, can communicate well, he's honest and considerate, won't cheat, he's loyal, you're already thinking of a dude in your head that you're attracted to, because the short, fat, bald dude that you don't even see that guy. He's not even on the planet. He's invisible to you. And guess what? That's okay. The guys that have a problem with that are the guys that won't do the work to get their money up or their status or work out to become strong or masculine. And those are the guys that we try to help. So like, this is all in a roundabout way of proving all of our point. And it's always so fascinating to me because there's like this internal governor that a lot of women have where it's like, oh, well, I don't want to sound shallow, or I don't want to sound like I'm being superficial to sit here and say I want a guy that I'm attracted to. So I just find that really interesting.
I feel like
A lot of the guys here aren't even considered. Like if we went into a restaurant, for example, and I asked you how many guys are in here that you could date, you wouldn't probably even
one out of 20.
see. But there would be way more than that many guys. You might say there's one guy in there, but there's way more guys in there. You just don't see the waiter. You don't see the cook behind the counter who has this big beard that you don't like. You don't see these guys, and you just disqualify them from dating market immediately. And so you don't think about the traits that they had when you talk about what you want or what you don't want.
I feel like for looks and things too, like I will never go above and beyond like with those high expectations and everything. Like me personally, I'm 5'2", so I mean every guy is either pretty much either the same height as me or taller than me. So I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm 5'2", but I'm looking for a guy who's like 6 foot, or like, you know, one of those unreasonable things that obviously not every guy can, you know, can be that height. You know, not every guy is that height, but it's like I just, you know, if he's
as long as he's a few inches taller than you, as long as you can look up to him while you're wearing heels.
Exactly. I was about to say,
there
if I can wear heels and look up, like I really don't care how tall he is. He could be 5'3", 5'4", like it doesn't matter to me.
Anybody else?
I find really interesting. One of the things here I really notice is women, especially in the online space, like online dating apps or Instagram, these things matter a lot more. Like height and like physical attractiveness matter a lot more. When like women are rating men on a scale, they're going to rate a lot of men a lot lower on these online spaces. But like Camila pointed out, when she met her boyfriend, she wasn't even really attracted to him at first. She actually had a crush on another guy. But after she was in a comfortable space with him, it gave him the opportunity to show some more attractive traits, show some of the like masculine traits, like his passion for some of his hobbies. And after seeing that, she was able to become attracted to him.
I just feel like that's social media though. That's like the new world we live in though. It's really hard. Like when you're in high school, you're surrounded by high schoolers that go to school. They're not like these supermodels with abs and stuff. You're surrounded by normal people, actual people that are normal. They're not social media influencers. They're not, you know what I mean? So it's difficult with the new age and generation we're in now. So I get that too.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong. It's not like he was like ugly either, but you know, I could see potential too, because I obviously like want to keep up standards. Like if I look a certain way, you have to look a certain way. Like I'm not gonna put myself down. But I just like I felt like the personality was like what reeled me in, and then that allowed me to like look at him in a different light. Because you know, we're all superficial, and like, you know, women for trying to be nice all the time. That's something that I was explaining to my boyfriend the other day, because he was like a little jealous, because like I love like getting myself ready, like I love putting on makeup, I like looking the best I can look, which also there's a difference between looking good and looking like good for the male gaze. There's like difference with that. But like he was explaining to me like, oh, you just want to look good because you want like guys to pay attention to. And I'm like, well, no. The reality of the matter is that if you're a woman that is looking disheveled, like you don't look like done up, like you look like you just came out of bed, right? Guys tend to treat women who look better nicer. Like I was playing pool the other day at my university, and there was this girl, she was short, she was chubby, she didn't look her best, and the guy who was playing pool with her was roasting her constantly, poking fun at her. And then when it was time to play against me, he had nothing to say. I was
Oh,
not like
toot your own
roasted.
horn a little bit there, Camila. Toot your own horn a little
Well,
bit for us.
I know,
I'm
but
kidding.
like it's
I'm joking.
reality.
I'm joking.
It's reality.
Yeah.
And it's also like between women too, because women might deny this, but for me, I felt it with every single female friendship I've ever had. As soon as you walk into a room, a woman will look around and will see every woman present and will say, I look like this, she looks like that. This is where I'm at on the scale. Like I feel like women measure each other too. And like I have had, for example, women at my job, for example, I have a friends that like would talk to me and they would say like, "Oh, when I first met you, you looked intimidating and I thought you were a bitch." And I'm like, "Well, why?" And they don't really know why, but I feel like it's because like they look good and I look good too, and I feel like that immediately is like a challenge in a way. Like I feel like women like
We're
subconsciously think this
competitive.
way.
That's what
Yeah,
it
women are
is.
competitive
Very,
too, differently
very.
than men. Men are
Yeah.
competitive with like achievements. Women are competitive, like men are competitive about like the bigger muscles, like who worked out the hardest, like who went to the gym more, who got the best results, who's been putting in the work, right? Women are more competitive about like how good is your hair? Is your makeup like looking crappy or is it looking really good? Like, do you look like you have like a good body? Are you flat? Like that's things that women
And
are always comparing
that's
each other
probably
with.
the reason I get along. Like I have a lot of male friends just because growing up, we just worried about sports. We didn't care about how we look. We were sweaty, but we just got along with everything. There wasn't no competitive. There was no when we go to the movies, I need to look good. I need to do this or think this way. Just guys are just naturally they don't care about all the bullshit, you know? Like with women, it's just too much. Too much.
Well, I've
It's too
always
much.
said competition between men is a good thing because guys ask us these questions a lot. They're like, because like the premise of our channel is giving men more power in the dating market and in life. We give them and teach them the lessons that we wish we were taught. A lot of guys have to go through breakups and divorce to find our content. And a lot of them are pissed off because they were told one thing by rom-coms and Disney about how you need to act a certain way, and women don't respond to those; they respond to other things. But intra competition, male competition is good in a way because people say, well, why are you giving all these men these advice? Don't you want to keep all the women for yourself? And it's because that competition between men means that better things get made, better things get built, and society advances forward because we are competitive with one another because we want to build more stuff and we want to be better than the next guy because it's a net positive on society where female to female competition is really it's hard because you're competing for men essentially. And the pool is ever shrinking of men that women are generally attracted to. I mean, you look at the obesity rates, you look at the income rates, more women are more educated than ever before. They're making more money than ever before. And as women climb the socioeconomic ladder, the tough part is their options generally shrink because women want a guy that's essentially better than them, makes more money, is smarter, is more educated. So that's what is really tough about what we see with a lot of these boss babe mentality sort of corporate world job folks, where it's like it's tough because you're kind of pricing yourself out of the market. Do you ladies find, Sade, you bring up an interesting point because I wanted to come back to this. I'm glad we got to it. Men and women being friends, right? So, some say it's possible, some say it's not possible. I'll hold my thoughts on where I think, but you probably can guess what I think. But what does everybody think? Do you think men and women can be friends? And if you were in a relationship with a guy and he says, hey, no male friends, would you tell him to piss off, or is that something you'd respect?
I
And that's for
just
everybody.
ran
respect
into
that.
that problem with my ex-boyfriend. With my male friends, although we were male friends, we're good friends and we're competitive and we do sports together, whatever. I feel like men have this natural instinct, no matter what, to have some kind of feeling or like for you deep inside somewhere. And I don't think, at least I don't believe that in any of your guy friends that they're just generally not going to have any type of feeling like or anything like that beyond friends for you. At least what I've came into. You might, I mean, you have a friend that you're like, no, we're just friends and we've been friends for our whole life, but I'm sure somewhere inside his toe, somewhere, like there's a like for you somewhere. You know what I mean? Like
If you showed up on
men-
his doorstep in lingerie with wine
right,
and
like,
said, "Let's
you
get it on," is
know,
he going to
like,
slam the
it's
door in your
just, it's
face?
always
Probably
been that
not.
way. And I've always wished, like, even though we're good friends, that they would just not have any type of like for me. You know what I mean?
Does that give you any pause at all? Like, I mean, does that make you feel that you can't be friends with them, or you just say, "Hey, whatever, like that's just the game"?
No, I mean, we could be friends. I'm just saying, in a relationship, you probably couldn't. I wouldn't be able to do it. But
So you would
in
say,
general,
"No, we're not going to be friends." If you were in a relationship, that wouldn't be something you'd entertain. You wouldn't hang out with other guys, or you wouldn't spend time with them one on one.
no.
Okay. You said that was a
I would
problem in your
say,
last relationship. Hold on, really quick. You said that was a problem.
mhm.
Like, it sounds like that's not. I mean, how is that an issue?
Yeah. I mean, I said I wouldn't, but I did, and it didn't go well. So I guess
Oh.
in the future, I guess that's not
Mhm.
because I found that out. You know, I found out that my friends liked me,
The
and they
hard
started
way.
to show that more because I was in a relationship. You know what I mean? It wasn't just playing
Interesting.
basketball and there was no feelings. Eventually, when I got in a relationship, they started being more, you know what I mean, showing their true colors about me because I was in a relationship. So, you know.
Interesting.
I actually ran into a not very similar, but like a similar kind of issue at the kind of like at the 4 year of our
It
relationship.
comes out. It comes out. It does.
So I obviously was like 15 and like I was a very naive person. I really did believe because like when I was in middle school, I had a male friend. He did later turned out to be gay, which makes sense now why that worked. But I had the belief that like it was possible, especially since like the male friends that I ended up having were my boyfriend's friends, basically from his childhood. So I had the belief that like, well, they know I'm dating him, right? Like there's no way
Right.
they would try anything, right? And
Yep.
one of these guys really tried to make me believe like for example, one time I said like, "Oh, my friend, his name blank." And he's like, "Friend? I thought we were best friends." And I thought
Yep.
like, you know what? Like, I guess like he just like was treating me like a bestie would. And then like one day when I was actually treating him like a friend, like I would treat him like any of my friends, then one day he dropped the bomb on me, like, "Well, if you weren't with your boyfriend, I would." And then I had to like pause the conversation and say, "I gotta go," and I hung up. And it had turned out that he was low-key grooming me into like
Yep.
switching over to his side for like the past like year.
Deep
And I
inside.
just so happened to
Yeah.
notice like because I'm like 14, like I had no idea really. Like I was like 15 or something. Like I didn't consider that that was possible. Um we're not friends with that guy anymore, but
Right.
um
You are their
considering
friends until you say no.
yeah, and also like especially because in my culture, like in Cuban culture, like for example, like my mom has a best friend since she was like in kindergarten, and her friend is married, and my mom is married to my dad, and sometimes like her friend will call, and then maybe my mom will have to like cook something in the kitchen, and my dad will stay talking to her on the phone, and it wouldn't be like an issue, like it's never been like something that like it's impossible, right? Like I see my parents have like friends of the opposite gender, like women participate good with men. Matter of fact, even like my boyfriend was in shock one time. We went to a party, and the party was my dad's cousin's husband's son's party. And in that party, there was his ex and another ex he had with a different kid. And they were all having fun and drinking. And my boyfriend's like, "Wait, that's his ex?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, how are they here?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. We just like don't really care." Like I felt like I come from a background where that is possible, but I feel like here in the US, I have found that it's like way more difficult to like be able to have a conversation with a guy and have that guy not like want to pursue something.
Yep.
I feel like with boundaries, like as long as you have set boundaries between you guys, and it's okay. Because like currently, as I said, like I am single and everything. But when I did have, a boyfriend, like back from middle school to high school, he knew like I had guy friends and he knew who they were, and I was also friends with his friends as well before things got weird with all that. But I will say I currently have two guy best friends that I've had since 8th grade. Now I'm in my 3rd year of college, and I have come across like situations where I was talking to this one guy and he's like, "Okay, well," he's like, "I don't do female friends, so I prefer if you didn't have male friends." But this was the type of thing where we had just started talking and like we had literally just met very recently. And I'm not going to just give that up for a guy that I don't know that well yet. Like if things start to get serious, then absolutely, like I will take that stuff into consideration. But I think that the most that I would do, because I don't want to just cut friends off either, because they've never shown any interest in me anyways. And they've dated other girls and everything. They've never had or showed any interest in me. And so I figure I would definitely back off with like, texting, calls and everything. And I would definitely just not hang out with them one-on-one. I would always, if I do have a boyfriend, then I'll make sure to be like, hey, my boyfriend's coming along. So, yeah, you guys can mingle and everything. And I would just make sure to put those boundaries there, because that goes back into the communication and trust and everything. You have to make sure that you're still setting those boundaries. That way your partner knows like, hey, it's safe. It's completely okay.
I want to come back to something you said, Jessica, but I want to get to Maria first. Maria, what do you think about being in a relationship and having guy friends? Or do you think you can have guy friends at all? Or do you think that all men are at some point, if they're talking to you, they want to try to get a shot with you?
Personally, when I'm in a relationship, I become like in my small world with only that person, that I want to do everything with him, that I want to go all the time just with him. My friends, I find out that my male friends, they are all how they say they all want something with me, and when I put my like a barrier or something that I stop them, they just see me as like I'm an ugly woman with an ugly attitude, because I stop them, because guys only wants to have their right, like.
So when you
Yes,
put
I'm
that
right,
boundary up, they'll call you names, they'll say bad things about you, that sort of thing.
yeah, like
They're
my
not getting what they
attitude,
want from
like,
you.
oh, who you think that she is, or something like that. They don't understand the difference between a friendship and
They change. Yeah, they don't understand.
yeah, they think
They
that
don't understand.
you're giving them the opportunity to came into your life as like
It
you
might
need them.
it might also be that they've never had that, like say like me and my best friend grew up our whole life, right? And then all of a sudden I get in a relationship. They've never had that boundary placed in front of them. So maybe they don't know how to react to it. Maybe they don't know that they're stepping on boundaries. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I also
Go ahead,
have
Maria.
a lot of friends that they are, let's say, like clients for what I do, that they go with their wives, or that I met them through their wives. And I think, I don't know if because the age, or I mean, it could work just if that's clear that is your friend. And that's it. That is
I want
a
to come
friend.
back to something that Jessica said, and I want to ask one more question around. You brought up a really interesting point, and this is something that I tell guys a lot, and a lot of guys shoot themselves in the foot by doing this. They think it's the right thing to do, and it's really not, is when they try to draw boundaries too early. A guy that is just started seeing a girl, you brought up a great sort of scenario where there's guys out there that will say on the first date, you can't have social media, you can't have male friends, you do this, you do that, I do this, I do that. And it's just a bad move. And guys think because a girl doesn't get on board with that, like, oh, well, she was a waste of time anyway because she wasn't going to get on board the ship. If you're a guy that does that, you need to stop doing that right now, because you have not demonstrated or built up enough equity or trust in giving this girl an opportunity to see what kind of guy you are, that she would even think about trusting you. You're asking her to blindly trust that you know what you're doing and that she should do what you say without any evidence, which is just a ridiculous proposition. Now, what I often tell guys, and I wonder if this is something, and I want to pose this back to the group. Let's say, hey, after 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, what everybody calls the talking stage. I'm hearing myself now. Hold on. I gotta mute somebody. Check 1, 2. Who is
Jessica,
that?
probably.
That was Jessica. Yeah. So Jessica, whenever you can come off mute, I'll call on you. I'll let you go first, so there's no interrupting. But let's say 3, 4, 5 months go by. You're like, this is the guy. I want to. You go to him and you say, where do we stand? Let's back up. Would you women ever
would you be the one to bring up that conversation?
Come on, Jessica. Would you be the one to bring up the conversation, the where do we stand, what are we talk, or are you waiting for the man to do that? Let's go to Jessica first.
There we go. I'm so sorry. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, hold on.
I'm just gonna push you back up.
There's going to be two questions, but the first one is, whose responsibility is it to ask for the relationship? Who would you prefer to be in the position where you're asking, where do we stand? What are we? I want to claim you. Or is that something you think the guy should do?
I definitely feel that it's because I like the guys to be like the head person. So I really do feel that that would be the man's job, in my opinion, just because. And this is something, and I don't know if the rest of us relate and everything, my other ladies in here, but I feel like I've seen a lot of different things where if the guy doesn't make the first move, like if he's shy, that's one thing. Like if he really does show that he likes you, but he's just shy about it, that's one thing. But I feel like other than that, if he's just not pursuing you, then I feel like he's just genuinely not interested in you. And that's fine and everything. Like you know what, I'm glad that you brought this up because I was actually talking about this with one of my male friends last night. We were at a school function and everything, but as we were walking back to our cars, we were talking about dating and things like that, and he was telling me who, he was trying to pursue and everything. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm glad that we're having this conversation because I will never ask a guy out first. I will never, I'll show him that I'm interested in him and I will make sure that he knows that and everything. But I will not put myself in that position to be vulnerable because I feel like that should be the guy's job to make sure that everything is, going good with the woman and everything first. And to be like, hey, that goes into the communication with me and everything because I want to know that the guy is feeling that way first with me in order for me to feel safe enough to communicate my feelings and thoughts about that, matter with him.
Okay. I'm still hearing echo, so let's mute you again. Maria, what do you think? Is that something the man should do? I mean, let's say this. Like, granted, I'll give you this. Men should be taking the lead. Men should be taking the initiative, going out on dates, asking that sort of thing. But what's interesting is that I generally tell guys not to bring up that conversation. That's kind of the woman's job to do that because, again, I think this is another one of those stated preferences versus revealed preferences. I've talked to a lot of women about this, and I've been doing this a long time, and it's like, when you get a guy that's focused on a relationship and it's focused on claiming you, and it sort of communicates that he's got a lack of options, that he's not desired by other women, or that he might not have anybody else out there that he's speaking to and talking to. And I know that sounds like, oh, that sounds perfect, but women generally want a guy that has other options but chooses her. Anyway, I digress. Let me pose this one more time. Let me pose this one more time and restate it, and then I'll let you go back in. Let's say if the difference was either you bring up the conversation and you bring up what are we, or the guy like walks away and is done, or you lose the potential relationship. Would you rather let that guy walk, or would you bring up the conversation?
No, for me, it would be nice if he bring it because if he's generally interested in having me in his life, he will bring it by himself. And if he doesn't, I will bring it because I will not let that relationship doesn't go anywhere just because he's going slower than what I think is the right time.
Okay. So you wouldn't let the relationship die and not bring it up. You would still bring it up if the only other option was maybe he's never going to bring it up. You would still try to bring it up if you realized that he wasn't going to do that. Yeah. Oh, did we lose her?
That was more or time or the opportunity to meet somebody else.
Gotcha. Okay. Jessica's video is back. Jessica, go ahead.
Yeah, I was actually, so the video is back. I was actually going to say that I was going to try to leave and then come back in and see if that worked.
You're good.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Jessica, did you have something you wanted to say on that?
Let's see. I'll be honest. I was trying to fix the thing before it came back. Can you guys repeat that?
Here, I'm really getting bad echo. Like if you can get like your hands on a pair of earbuds or something, right, for the last 10 minutes, but like otherwise it's just the feedback and the echo is just crazy. Here, I'm gonna pull your video off real quick. Actually, I can't do that. You'll have to do that. But same question to Sade. So, is this something where would you rather let the relationship die and not see where it goes, or would you rather risk the rejection of not, or telling him say no? Would you still go after it if you were that sure about the guy that you'd bring up the conversation?
It's a good point too, because my friend's going through this right now. She's like, well, I'll just keep stepping back until he kind of he keeps showing trust issues and stuff. I'm just like, it's kind of like both parties, because sometimes you just both don't know. You're unsure. You don't know. Maybe he's ready. Maybe he's not. Maybe I'm ready. Maybe I'm not. Maybe we just don't know. Eventually maybe someone will bring that up. I don't really feel like it's wrong if he doesn't say it first. Sometimes it's just like that. But at some point, I feel like someone has to bring it up. Someone has to. And if it's just sitting there, no one's bringing it up, then maybe you guys don't want to go forward. Maybe that might be what it is.
Okay. My follow-up question to that is this. So let's say you do bring it up. And this is where I was kind of going before I took the step back. Let's say you do bring it up. You say, hey, listen, man, it's been 4 or 5 months. I want to go ahead and... Oh, my goodness. Maria's watching telenovelas in the back.
I'm sorry, no.
She's got to have her stories.
My mom sent me something else.
She's going to telenovelas.
Is that better?
So let's say, yeah, I can't hear myself anymore. You're good. That's perfect. So my next question is, let's just say, for the sake of argument, and we'll start to kind of wrap this up because I know we're coming up on time. Keep an eye on the clock. Let's say for the sake of argument, you do bring it up with the guy and he says, okay, you go, it's been 4 or 5 months. Where do we stand? And he goes, okay, like I'm willing to be in a relationship. I'm willing to take you seriously, but I don't date girls who keep male friends around. I don't date girls that talk to other guys that aren't me. I don't date girls that, go hang out with guys one-on-one. That's just not something I do. Is that an acceptable boundary to draw? I mean, because Jessica, you talked about boundaries and you're drawing your boundaries with these guys, but a guy could turn around and look at you and say, yeah, that's not good enough. My boundary is that there is no contact. And for the right guy, is that something you'd be willing to accept?
Yeah, I feel like for the right person, you'd be willing to do that. Because I mean, how much can your guy friends really bring you more than your boyfriend, potential spouse can? Like I don't think anyone else can bring, as much as they can. Maybe you were friends for a long time, but your husband / potential husband is going to bring more to the table than your best friend, potentially.
I feel like because I have known them for such a long time, like they've been with me through like so many ups and downs. And it's like, they stay with me. They're, they've never been fake. They've never gone behind my back and like gossiped or, spread rumors, all that childish stuff. I feel like I would never be able to, let them go. Not because I've ever had feelings for them, not because there's any kind of connection in that aspect with them. It's just because like, I can't just cut somebody out of my life if they've never done anything wrong to me. And if the guy doesn't understand that, like, and he would see, he could meet them and everything. He would hear, all sides of the stories and everything. So
this is your perfect idea of your perfect man. This is your celebrity crush or whoever the hell that guy is. And he says no male friends and you're still not cool with that.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Your video went out again. That's okay.
My connection just completely cut out. I heard the first
Did
part
you hear
of
what I
you
said?
said with the celebrity.
I just said, listen, this is the man of your dreams. This is that guy, whoever that
It's
dude
like
is. This is
hardcore
your
glitching, I don't
dream
know why.
man. Can you still hear me? All right, maybe
Really?
let's just go ahead and put you on.
Could I bring something up really quick?
Camila, go ahead, please.
Definitely.
I wanted to say that first of all, when addressing like the who brings the boundaries first, I would say that like I was actually kind of the first person who brought them up, simply because what happened was that like as soon as he found out that I kind of like had a crush on him, his first move, like the first thing he said to me after like he found out was, "Let's go on a date." And I actually like I was really nervous and I said no. And he said like, "What?" Like, "I thought you liked me." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, but I don't want to like start dating you when like all I know from you is that you like dirt bikes and I see you in art class." So I actually like he actually had to go on a trip to New Jersey to meet his family or something, which was perfect because like for basically an entire month or like a couple of weeks at least, we were like constantly talking to each other over like Messenger or whatever, and we were like trying to find out everything with music taste, like what we think of life, like what we think of a partner should be, like all of these things. And I told him like, like I have I see that a big mistake a lot of people do, and a lot of the reasons why I see a lot of relationships fail around me is because a lot of people just find that they like each other, they find each other attractive, and they're like, let's start dating. And they don't really know each other. And then they get to know each other in the relationship, like the basic stuff. And then like when it turns out that like, yeah, I think you're hot, but like I actually really hate what you think about this. And it's kind of like a deal breaker. Then all of a sudden the relationship goes down a spiral and it like crashes. Um, and I didn't want that to happen because I had already seen it happen with even in high school, I'd seen it happen before, and I just like really didn't feel comfortable starting to just date someone I don't know, right? And I feel like people just really like take dating as like to get to know the guy. Like I feel like you need to make sure that you're compatible, not just as a couple, but as friends. Because like I feel like the main reason me and my boyfriend have lasted so long is because yeah, we're like boyfriend and girlfriend, but we're also like best friends. Like we talk to each other about everything. Like we like the same kind of like shows to watch. Like we do everything together in a way. So like I feel like that is very important, especially if you ever want to like move past like just dating and move into like living together, having a family, marriage. Like you're gonna have to living with someone is like much different than like just dating them and meeting each other like 3 times a week. And I feel like people don't really consider getting to know the person before dating them nowadays.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I think that's certainly fair enough. Jessica, I know you're trying to get your connection sorted. Do we have you back? That's okay if not. I really wanted to get your thoughts on that last question, but we might have to pause and do that. Well, here's what we'll do. So we're starting to come up on time now. It's about 9:30. There's a segment here at the end of the show that's become kind of a tradition around here for because you didn't come and ask for it, so you didn't ask for our advice, but we love to give unsolicited advice because it's our show and we do what we want. No, but so it's always a fun time. So Spence, do you want to kind of kick it off and dole out some unsolicited advice for our panel here?
Well, I mean, Camila sounds like she's already in a 7-year relationship, so she's got a lot of good stuff going for her. One of the things there that I found was really interesting, actually, I wanted to talk about was one of her boyfriend's friends started hitting on her, and she brought up that they're not friends with that guy anymore. So her boyfriend had good boundaries to cut off that friend when something like that came up. But when
be fair, it took a long time because this friend was like the pinnacle of our friend group, so it was really difficult to like cut him off because if we cut him off, we basically cut the entire friend group off, and then we would have no social life. So it did take a long time, but I mean, we got there.
I found it interesting though. The same topic came up with Jessica, and she said that he didn't have any boundaries, that he just kind of ignored it, and that actually resulted in them ending things. And she was like upset. Kind of, it seemed like she was actually found it unattractive that he had no boundaries.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I wish she had her connection sorted. She could respond, but I think it's. I don't know if it's going to happen this evening. But carry on.
Yeah, I guess I don't really have any advice for Camila. Like she's doing great there.
Okay.
Sade is like one of your biggest things is probably going to be that struggle with a kid and that dynamic of how you want to take so much control over some situations, and you actually need to find a man that can overpower you in that way and can lead you. That's going to be really difficult.
Yeah.
And that's probably like that area is going to be the biggest point that's holding you back in any of your relationships.
That's why I chose to be single, because it just feels like it's really hard to do that right now. It really is. And it's probably just, I don't want to let it go either right now because she's so young. I'm just starting off. So I just don't want to let someone maybe do that, but that's why I'm just like, I choose to be single. I'm just going to be single because it's just too difficult.
At the same time, I find that most times people choose to be single and just wait things out. It often ends up with them being a lot older and then regretting it later on.
Right.
They end up older, and like, you're going to have more value when you're younger, right? Your younger years is when you're going to have a better chance of getting into a relationship versus when you're in your 30s. So I would caution waiting too long on that.
Mm-hmm.
Being active, still looking for a man, I think is still a good idea. And I didn't really get to hear too much from Maria as much on that side of things. She echoed a lot of the same topics or a lot of the same opinions, I found. So probably, yeah, I'd say the same thing. Like, just don't be single by choice for too long.
Sure. I think that I'm not in a rush to get somebody because I feel that I want to first accomplish all my dreams, and I want to get all the best for myself, so I'm able to offer the same to somebody else. And if at some point I have somebody that wants to offer me their best and I am feeling good to receive it, I will.
I want to say that like sometimes I feel like women want a guy whose life is already like perfectly put together, and like while I understand that that's like the ideal, right? Like when I met my boyfriend, like he wasn't perfectly put together. Like he didn't work out yet that much. Um, he also hadn't gone through puberty fully, but um like he is not the same man he is today the like 4 years ago or something. Like sometimes I feel like you like I feel like the change that my boyfriend went through as a man in many ways was like thanks to like the support that I gave him in the relationship. Like, like he would think maybe like he went through a time where he thought like, oh, uh he thought that he looked like worse than he actually looks. And he still have like some sort of self-image issues, but I really do like push him and like always remind him that he looks great in my eyes, of course, but I feel like he decided to work out not only because he wanted to like feel better about himself, but because he also wanted to like look better in the relationship too, along like with me to the same level like that he like thought I looked or something. Like there are many times in which like the woman helps the man grow, the male helps the women grow. Like if it wasn't for him, I would still be like a headline reading, social media following, political activist or something, right? But like thanks to him and his valuable input on my mindset, like I was able to grow from that, and now I'm like a much more like intelligent person, I would say, right? So like expecting to find like the perfect guy to fall into your lap, the guy that like just makes all this money, you know what I mean? Like my boyfriend doesn't make all this money yet. Like we can't like he can't support us yet, but I am supporting him in his private business idea, and like we're gonna get there, right? Like sometimes like even though the guy might not be like able to support a family of five like immediately, sometimes it is worth it to stick around if the person's high quality, because you can get there together.
Sure.
I think it's well said. I want to bring us home here because I know we're starting to get. I'm going to say this for Jessica too because I want her to go back and watch the replay. I don't want to make her feel neglected, even if she doesn't watch it. I'll say it, but I'll start with Camila here. So Camila, like you're a down ass bitch. I gotta say. I mean,
Thank you.
you really have seemed to embody a lot of the good things that your guy wants. I would say if there's anything constructive I had to give you, was just continue to lean into letting him lead. Continue to lean into that trust and give him the support and the space to take ownership on making decisions for the relationship and continuing to give him your full support. Because there's nothing better for a guy to hear than his woman telling him, you have my absolute full support. I know you're going to take care of us. You know, I know that you've got our back. So just continue to lean into that. And you guys are both still so young. And so there's so much potential for you. And I would just say, you know, continue to keep that energy as much as you can and continue to keep hold yourself to a high standard for him. And he will hold himself to a high standard for you. So I would just continue to lean into that super, super, super hard and just continue to trust him in his decision making. Maria, you know, I didn't have much until the very end here. I'll just say, like, I would make sure that you're selling what men are buying. You know, you said something about, I want to go do all these things for myself, become the best version of myself so I can give that to somebody else. I don't know exactly what that looks like, whether that's like money or wisdom or experiences or XYZ. And generally guys they're not necessarily looking for that from their woman. They're looking for a woman that's soft and feminine, that, you know, takes care of he does the pink jobs. He does the blue jobs. Men are generally not going after women just because they're intelligent or they're well-traveled or they have a lot of money. Those are just not things that are attraction triggers. And again, like, you know, you're 27. So, you get, every woman is on a far shorter time clock than they think. I think that you'll figure it out. I would just say, you know, consider if the things that you're sort of accumulating and sort of bringing to that table, make sure that, you know, you're selling what men are buying in that sense. I'll say to Jessica really quick. Jessica, if you come back and you watch this replay, thank you for coming on. I think she hopped back in the backstage, which, you know, and just stick around because I'll pull everybody out to do the outro. So everybody just hang out in the backstage after we wrap here. But, you know, I think just be mindful of those boundaries. I think that there's going to be a guy that comes along, and if he's that top shelf guy and he's that dude that you want, and he's that top 10 perfect top shelf guy, whatever, you know, he's likely going to have some hard lines in the sand, and he's going to draw some boundaries that you might not necessarily agree with. But, you know, I think life is going to be a lot easier and a relationship's going to be a lot smoother if you can find a guy you trust in his authority and you can trust him to take that ownership and lead. And Sade, like, I say this with as much love as I possibly can. Like, it's going to be real hard. It's tough for you. Like, it's
because
I say this in a nice
I put her
way.
like on this pedestal, you know, as a parent.
It's not
and
even that.
just
It's
like,
not even that. I'll tell you what it is. Like, it is tough because I think after talking to you, like, you're an absolute sweetheart. I think you want things to work out. I think you've got a good heart. I think that you've got some things that on the surface are really, really tough to get past for a lot of high-level top shelf guys. One, like, a big red flag that I wholeheartedly believe can be a problem and an issue is not having a great relationship with your father. We talked about earlier how that causes you to not be able to maybe trust in men the way that you should, or not be able to see that strong male influence in a guy that could be that guy for you. The type of industry and the amount that you work, you know, you're going to be making more money. You're going to be working long hours. You're in a heavily male dominated space, which is going to continue to add to sort of this masculine energy. And guys that you're going to want are going to have higher masculine energy than you. And usually guys that have that really high masculine energy also have options. And so when guys have options, they start weighing, well, has kids, doesn't have kids, is really soft and feminine, wants to stay home and play stay-at-home mom, wants to be the boss babe and is competitive with me. You know, guys that are going out there and crushing it in the world, the last thing they want when they're going out there and fighting with people and getting deals done and worrying about all that shit, the last thing they want to do is come home and fight that same battle with you at home. So I think if I had any advice for you, I have no idea if reconciling things with your daughter's father is even a possibility in the realm of possibility. Maybe it's not, and that's okay. If it's not at all, I would say try your absolute best to lean into the soft side as much as possible. Really try to develop that soft feminine side as much as you can. And it's going to be work, right? It's a lot of a childhood on that stuff stays ingrained
Yes.
with you. That stuff is stuff that
Mhm.
is, you know, it happened and it's a lot of work to get past that sort of stuff. But I think that you can carrying on for this continuing down this path and accumulating more of this masculine and high energy is just only going to be detrimental to your ultimate goal, which is to be in a loving relationship and marriage. I also would say the last thing is you're 24, but all women have a lot less time than they think, right? So it's not out of the realm of possibility to kind of starting to take stock now and try to slowly, incrementally, maybe make some of these changes. If that long-term goal in marriage is that what you want, then that's sort of where I'd start, because like Spencer said, don't want you to be, 6 years from now, 31, 32, and be like, damn, and I wish I had kind of started earlier, because now you're really behind the 8 ball. So I really had a great time tonight. I didn't know how this was going to go. I appreciate everybody, coming on, versus especially with like some of the technical difficulties we had. I'm going to pull everybody off stage. I'm going to do a quick little wrap up, but everybody stick around. I just want to say thanks again backstage, but I'll be with everybody in a minute. So I'm just going to pull everybody out. I'll pull Spence. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode. This is our first ladies' night back. We're going to try to do them weekly going forward. I most likely will not be doing next week. I'll be traveling for the Thanksgiving holiday. So I believe Spencer will be able to make it, and Rich as well. I'll talk to him about that. We'll have a new panel of ladies. We had a couple more that couldn't make it last minute, but we hope you guys enjoyed this. If you didn't enjoy it, okay, watch something else. It's not going anywhere. We're going to try to bring it back. We do 3 shows besides ladies' night a week, chopping it up on Mondays. Moff's Hours is back. I'm going to be doing that 12 o'clock noon on Thursday. Rich is going to be doing a show tomorrow at noon here on this channel about handling jealousy in LTRs. And he's going to have a lot of good stuff over the next couple of weeks, man. Like, it's no secret, this guy's talked about his relationship of 9 years coming to an end. He and I have spoken a lot about it. He is fired up. He is reinvigorated, wanting to put out some really good content for you guys over the next couple of weeks and months. Join the School of Unplugging. It's a huge, huge time to be able to get into our community. We have so much cool stuff planned for 2025. I'm already planning trips and doing all this kind of stuff for the community. It's a really, really great chance to get involved before prices go up at the end of the year. And, if you guys aren't following along what we're doing on social, you should do that. The community has its own Instagram page now. It's just at @the_unplugged_alpha_community. So go to my Instagram. It's right there in my bio. If you guys want to follow along with that, that'll be dedicated to all community things. And with that, I will see you guys Thursday at 12 noon. Peace.